Alright guys, so saw a request for showing how to create a scope for these rifles or any of the guns, so here it goes. I'm going to use some primitive models, but whenever you can use your own scope models for this, it'll work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a cylinder, and let's call it scope. And we're going to resize our cylinder to be a decent size. So, okay, let's put it near the rifle. Let's rotate it. X degrees. Should be okay. So here we go. It's about like that size. And we gotta make sure that it's in the first person layer. And there we go. Oh, it's because it's far away, it looks like that. There we go. Position it where it makes sense. Now, the scope needs to be hooked up. You attach the scope always to the weapon. Never attach it to anything else, because here it will not move with the weapon. It will just appear and disappear, so attach it to the weapon object of your gun. So what we're gonna do is actually let's set the rotation to 0, 0, 0, and then just gonna do that. Okay, that looks about right. The position is fine. Okay, everything else looks good. Oh, maybe I could make it look more like this. There. And that's better position, I think. Yeah. So the next thing we need to do is we gotta add a lens. Now I'm going to put if you're using the standard render pipeline, unless you know how to muck about with the material editor or create your own renderer, you need to use a circular object. In fact, regardless of render pipeline, now that I think about it, you should it's better to use a circular object for this. I will also link you to a tutorial that will show you how to use a quad and a material, or rather, yeah, material editor to get the effect that you want. But for now, I'm going to use a circular object that I got from the asset store. So there we go. Gonna attach this. The X could be 0, Z could also be 0, and Y is gonna be, let's see, there we go, just like that. And barely, a little bit smaller. Okay, just something that makes sense. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that this thing can show the world. So what we gotta do is create a render texture for this. So I'm gonna create one right now. I already have one, but let's go to render texture. Let's go scope, render texture, and the main thing is you gotta modify this to 1024. I mean, you could do higher or lower. I'm going to put it to 1024, and you apply this here, and it will automatically create a material and attach it to this. Now, this one, yes, could stay this way. So this is the first step. The other thing that needs to be done is you got to create a scope camera, which I've already done here, and attach it to the world camera. Okay. So you create a scope camera with these settings. You give it a post-processing layer with a first-person camera as a trigger and a first-person layer, and you could turn this on or leave as it is. Now, the important thing you got to do is you got to apply this render texture to that camera. So voila, there we go. So now we have something showing. And of course, I forgot to set this to also first-person layer. So now if we play, this should work. Copy. See, there it is. Now we have a problem. We have a few problems, but the main one is you can see that the scope camera is showing the gun. Now the scope camera is attached to the world camera. And what needs to happen is we could move it forward until it's not obscured. But these need to be zeros. Well, can't be 0, 0. Yes. Let's do it with the local. Yeah. If I do it with the local, I don't understand why I cannot just rotate it here. Go to the local. I cannot move further here or further this way, but the important thing is for the X and the Y to be the same. Otherwise the gun will not shoot where you're pointing it. It will show something else, but the gun will actually be pointing somewhere else. So now if I try to shoot, let's say that bucket over there, let's go for the water. This is a huge issue because this scope is very far away from the screen. It's too far away. It's serviceable, but it's far away. So I have written a script that fixes this problem, and we need to attach this, and I will explain to you what it does. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do here, before we move on to anything else, is add a reticle. Right, crosshairs, and we need to add another layer of a glass or cloaked glass, or this thing here, for it to open and close as you're aiming. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a reticle, and the reticle could be a quad. So we're gonna create a quad. Going to attach a reticle that I downloaded from somewhere, and it's going to be this. Okay, it's just a standard material with a with this texture, which I found somewhere attached to it. So now I wonder. Which way is the reticle here? I need to find. It's not showing. Oh, it's not showing because I made it into cutout, and its albedo is 0. That's why I can't see it. There we go. So now it's visible. Wait. Increase it to fit. No, now this is very a simplistic way of doing it. There are better ways to do it, where you can put this to be rendered in front of the camera, the scope camera, so that when you zoom in and out, it'll, you know, either will or won't zoom in and out with the camera. But this will serve for now for our purpose. Okay, so we have this. We're going to duplicate this, remove the reticle. So this is going to be our lens offset. What we're going to have here, we're going to have I'm going to create a simple material, go black color. I'm going to attach it to the lens, and it is important for this to be a transparent material because the alpha value is going to be changed during the game to show the lens. Alright, so we have this, a reticle. So now the script that needs to be attached to this is called Scope Aim Handler. Alright, it's called Scope Aim Handler. And of the values that will need to be edited, I'm going to show you. So what we need to do is drag this black material here. This color needs to be black, and so does this one. However, the alpha value of this needs to be all the way up. And for the speed, color change, we can make it 10 and 10. Now, this scope aim handler should be attached to the gun. And however, I did not attach it to the gun. I made a mistake here. Let's attach it to the gun because the inspector was locked. So we attach it to the gun, and here's how we're going to set the values. This is going to be 9, and I will explain to you what these are. 5, 0.1, sorry, 0.1. 10, 30, 45, 0.01, 0, and 10. Alright, let's play and see what we get. And there we go. Now the only problem is, I think the position of the camera I did not maintain it. Yeah, I changed this when I was in gameplay mode, that's why it didn't stick. But for now, let's just do this. And here we go, we have a reticle. And we have the blurring effect. The scope turns on and off. The only problem I'm seeing is everything seems to be a little bit tilted. So I wonder if that's related to the camera. Rotate the camera to be a little bit better. Actually, it's not the camera we should rotate. That is wrong. That is wrong. We should rotate this. Because we rotate the camera, we're going to knock it off center. The rotation matters. Move this a little bit more to the left so it's in the middle of the scope, the rifle. And how's this looking? It's looking alright. You can play around with this to get the perfect cut. Let's see if it's shooting where we're pointing. Let's see if it's shooting where we're pointing. the reticle is blinking in and out, it might be positioned too close to the thing, to the other plane. So we could change that easily. Let's fix that, and let's fix this too. So it's going to be 0.5. Alright, let's get out of gameplay mode. Gameplay. This lens was left at 0. This needs to be like that. Is this? Yes, 0.5. So that it is in front of all the aiming sights. Okay. Now let's go to the reticle here. Turn this off for a second. Yeah, let's go. Let's do that. This could be here. Alright. Now I'm gonna explain. This is already working like it's supposed to. I'm just gonna explain to you how all these numbers work and what they do, and you can attach the script and use it. It's a very basic script. There are things it doesn't do. There's no zooming in and out. There's the depth of field could use a little work, but okay. So now it's not flickering. All right, and shoot the top of the barrel. So it's shooting where we're pointing. So now let me show you what all these different values do. Right, so now let me show you what all of these values do and explain to you how they work, so that you'll be able to use them in your own projects. Let the game load. That's actually, we're gonna mute the sound here. Alright, sound is muted. Alright. So here's how it works. So the blur on speed and blur off speed just determine how fast the blur happens. So see, it's blur slower, and there you go. So that's what those do. Now the scoping blur determines the amount of blur. So if I put it like this, it's not gonna blur. So you want this to be a low number, or depending on how you set up your depth of field. For things to blur, this is the amount of blur when it's not scoped, which is 10. It looks like this. Now this is the more important one. See the no scope FOV? This determines where the gun is when it's not scoped, and this determines when the gun is when it is scoped. So if you put a low number, it gets really close to the screen. If you put a high number, it's further from the screen. So modify that as you wish for your project. And the other important variable here is this one. This determines where the scope lands when you zoom in. So if I put a higher value, it goes lower on the screen. If I put even a more high value here, 0.5, it goes even lower. So in other words, if you need, let's say, a bigger scope, you want it to zoom in a lot, you would need to increase this value by a little bit so that it centers more correctly. So if, let's say, I want it to be closer to my screen, right? I want it to be a very close zoom. There. So you can adjust it to be a close zoom, and now if this was a 1, that wouldn't work too well. So I can get a close zoom and the right position by playing around with these numbers. And this is of course the position of the camera when it's not zoomed. It should be 0. I think you could adjust it. If you change it, it just looks like this. So I guess you could adjust it to your taste, but 0 works. 0 is what its original position is in the asset. And this determines how fast the game will assume the field of view that you determined. So you see, and that's about it. That's all you really need to know. If you guys need me to go over the script, let me know. But that's pretty much all you gotta really need to know about this. So now you're ready to stick a scope on your gun. Toodaloo.